as per you, the moon does not rotate. Please explain it, sir.
The theory is that moon, when it formed initially, it was rotating very fast, and slowly Earth's gravity slowed it down, and it is in synchronous rotation. I conducted a small experiment which will prove 100% that the moon does not rotate.
Why is the mystery of gravity not completely solved yet?
Newton is the father of gravity, Isaac Newton. He himself has told in his lifetime that there is no such force, and he gave an alternate theory. But that is not being taught, and you are still searching for an independent force. So how you can find?
Mohanlal, sir, welcome to the Founder's Dream.
Thank you.
How are you, sir?
Fine.
All good, sir?
Yeah.
Sir, can you tell me about yourself, like what are you doing nowadays?
Now I'm sort of retired. I'm trying to, make my book popular.
Okay.
Because all these days I was busy writing and doing some experiments and all those. But it is no use if I keep it to myself. Now I have to publicize it so that more and more people come to know about it.
Wow, sir. So how did you get to inspire to start the project?
And this is very interesting because even I, in my life, never thought I will write a book on science. One day in the evening when I happened to watch the TV program, that program, name of that program was Through the Wormhole with Morgan Freeman. And the ending part of Albert Einstein's space-time theory of gravity was being illustrated, where in a trampoline, they put a ball and he's showing the space-time curvature. So something happened to me that time. I was wondering, space is empty. Space by itself is empty. And time is not a physical entity. Correct. How can these two interact and curve the space? So then out of curiosity, I started researching on the net, nothing else. But slowly it became a sort of infatuation. So day and night, whenever I get up, I used to switch on the laptop. I don't know what I'm searching for also, but go on researching. Then after 7-8 months, I collected so much information that slowly the idea that I should write a book about this, it came into my mind. And you will not believe, within 1 year, I wrote my first book named Gravity Captured.
Gravity capture.
Yeah. So I published it and had a small book releasing function and everything. But only then I came to know that in science, it is very difficult to convince other people about your ideas. When you yourself are not, like I said, I am not a professional scientist, professor or something like that. So for me to write something like this, people will not believe. They'll say, this fellow is not from the science community. So what can he write about science? That way they think. So that was the first time I came to know that you have to be qualified and all that. Only then people will listen to you.
You have to get degree for that first.
Degree holder or a PhD or something. Otherwise, nobody will, even if you are speaking the truth, even if you have evidence.
You said very true thing, sir. Everybody was judging me for my degree. What you have done? I said, I have done nothing. I have started my business and I will be successful in this. That's it. So, sir, you started the NGO also.
Yeah, so why I started my NGO? After this, I tried to publicize this book, and I got some replies from some foreign scientists and everybody who pointed out certain flaws. They said, okay, these points are okay, there are some flaws also. Then I realized that I have to do a lot more research, and I kept on researching, and I wrote my second book called The 7 Deadly Misconceptions in 2006. About 3 years back, I wrote my final book, The Real Theory of Everything. And this book was released by Justice Santosh Hegde, this book. So after that, a little bit I tried to publicize, but whatever I had written in the book, if I could prove it, it would be good. So that is why I started this, my NGO called Commonsense Science Association, where I built a 40-foot high gravity drop tower. And it is the first to be built by a private party in the entire world. And I can actually make a vacuum in that. I can do the feather and hammer test. And I have designed one more experiment where you can find out exactly if gravity is there or not.
Is it there or not?
Yeah. So in that experiment, based on one of Albert Einstein's famous thought experiment. So what that thought experiment is, Albert Einstein, when he was just thinking, like, he got he said it was the best moment of his life. He realized that when a person falls down from the top of a building, he will be unable to feel his own weight because he's falling down along with the gravitational field. So when does gravity work? When you are standing on the ground. So when you're falling down, you become weightless. So that is he says it is the best moment of his life. So based on that, there are about 6 to 7 drop towers in the entire world, and they conduct experiments. It is known as zero gravity drop towers. So I built one myself, 40 feet high. That is about 1 second drop time, and I conducted these tests. Even in India, in Chennai, there's a drop tower in IIT Chennai, but they cannot make a vacuum there. So without vacuum, a double capsule they use and drop the experiment.
You have created by your own experiment, own.
All for my curiosity and my thing. So now finally I want to somehow publicize it so that people will come to know about it, especially scientists and the scientific community.
But what you found actually, sir? Can you tell me about this?
Okay. What I found out was that gravity is there, is taught to everybody so much that we cannot think otherwise. So now if you take a weighing scale and keep and put an object on it, it will show its weight, whatever weight. No, there are only two things possible. One is either there is gravity, the object is weightless, gravity is pulling it and it is showing the weight. Okay. One thing. And that is what we have all been taught. Objects are weightless by themselves. Since gravity is pulling them down, weight is created. If gravity is not there, the next only possibility is the object has its own weight. Object is heavy. Weight is an intrinsic property of the object or matter in it. So only these two things are possible. Now, how do you check that? You can check it only in a gravity-free environment. But where is gravity-free environment? It is not there. But Einstein's brilliant idea, the drop tower, zero gravity drop tower. Suppose in the drop tower we got a platform thing, and a person is standing in it. There's a weight kept there, 200 or 300 kgs. Now, when the floor is, that contraption will drop from a considerable height, both become weightless. Suppose they are standing on a weighing scale, both the person standing on this scale and the person, the object on the other scale, both will show zero because it is falling down. Okay, my question was, now it is showing zero. If this person try to lift up that weight, will he have to apply force or can he lift it up effortlessly? Because as per theory, during free fall, weight is zero. See, in physics, weight and mass have different meanings. In day-to-day life, it is different. In physics, weight is the force of gravity pulling you down. Mass is, of course, inertial and all that. So as per theory, even if it is 1,000 tons also, during free fall, its weight will be zero. Mass into acceleration, zero. So anybody should lift that object up with a little finger.
But it is not happening.
But think about it like this and you will realize 100 tons, 1,000 tons, 1,000,000,000 tons. How can it become weightless? How can you lift it up during free fall? So for this, I conducted one more experiment where I made a contraption and fitted an electromagnet on the top. So that when you switch on the electromagnet, when it is stationary, it can lift up a weight of 40 grams. I actually made a plate and it will lift up. More than that, it will not lift. So I checked up. So during free fall, what I did, I kept a weight of 200 grams instead of 40 grams. And as per theory, when I drop it from the top, it should attract and lift it up because its weight is zero. But that was not happening. So I conducted this test many times and I came to know that weight is an inherent property of matter. It is not a property endowed by gravity. And the next best thing is, we all know that Newton is the first who came out with the universal laws of gravitation. But an older Newton, as he grew older, he said, no, this sort of a force cannot be there, because in a vacuum, without anything, nothing can act. This sort of force cannot act instantly. So then, as he grew older, he came out with a separate theory of gravity known as ether theory of gravity. But this theory was not accepted by his contemporaries, because already his initial theory was successful. His formula, I mean, his equations were working fine. So that what is the new use of new theory? We will go along with that. So that just went into the books. And that time, once it was rejected, nobody knows about it, and it is not taught in the educational institutions. Only because of the internet, it has come out now. And even then, very few people know about it.
So you are saying that this particular thing has its own weight,
Yes,
not a
you can
gravitational,
prove it.
not a gravitational.
There is no gravitational force. There is a gravitational field. And how that field comes about, also I have explained in my book.
Okay, sir. Sharing two misconception of the physics. For example, like moon and atom.
So during my research, I came across many things which I believed earlier. But as I studied them, I knew something is wrong. So the first thing that caught my attention was the moon. See, moon we can see with our own eyes. Naked eyes we can see it. And always we see only one face of the moon.
Correct. One side.
Right? Only one side of the moon we can see. The rare side we cannot see. But I came to know that as per contemporaries, NASA, ISRO, everybody, the moon rotates once like this. In the time it takes to complete one full orbit around the Earth. That is, it takes about 27 days to complete an orbit around the Earth. In that time, it rotates once also, they are telling. But if something rotates once, we should be able to see all its size. The other theory is that moon, when it formed initially, it was rotating very fast. Conducted a small experiment using two motors of the same RPM. One to give rotational motion to the moon, and slowly Earth's gravity slowed it down till it became locked with the Earth's gravity, and it is in synchronous rotation. So this one what I did, from this I came to know that the moon does not rotate. So that once it orbits once, it would have completed one rotation also. I showed it to some scientists, and I have put it on YouTube also. So far nobody has come. And I have sent it to a lot of foreign YouTubers who make only science videos. But so far nobody has contacted. In the end of the chapter, I will give so many other reasons which will prove 100% that the moon does not rotate. And I've sent these videos to NASA 3-4 times and many other space agencies. But only NASA gives a reply. The reply is, this does not concern our department. Please forward it to some other department. That's all. So this is one misconception. The second misconception is, I feel is the atom. According to the current theory, the atom consists of only proton, neutron, which is the nucleus, and the electron. The rest is 99.9% empty space. What does this mean? This means that if you take a gold or gold, silver, something, the atom does not contain gold. Neither it contains carbon atom, does not contain carbon. Gold atom does not contain gold. And how does it appear like gold? How does this appear like carbon? To give another example, imagine so many compounds, so many chemicals, food items, everything is there. Now imagine we start cutting them. We are able to cut it to the molecular level or the atomic level. Suddenly, once you come to the atomic level, everything becomes empty. Suppose food we have got, our brain matter we have got, we go down chopping. Once you come to that small, suddenly everything will vanish. How is it possible? So this is another misconception. And about this one famous professor, Jim Al-Khalili, in his video he says, although we know how a few atoms work, when trillions of them come together, we do not know how they give rise to physical reality. a human being or so that video is also there. We can play that. So these are two misconceptions which I feel, and one I have proved. I can prove even now. Or a moon. It is what you can see very good.
It is still.
It is orbiting the Earth without rotating. See, a car goes round and round in a racetrack. You can see from the center only one side.
One side, correct. That side I can't see.
You cannot see. Then is the car also in rotating? No. You take a ball, tie a string, and you move it. From the center, only the front of the ball will be visible. The back side will not be visible. So how can, and till it is tied to the string, it cannot rotate.
Acha, you have written one book, Outer Space, correct na?
Yeah, in that book, the outer space is one chapter, the first chapter. See, from thousands of years, it was believed that outer space is filled with an invisible elastic medium called ether. Every famous scientist, everybody believe that ether exists in space. And one famous philosopher, René Descartes, Western philosopher, not only even Newton also, they said that this ordinary matter is nothing but a condensation of this ether. However, what happened in a lot of people wanted to discover it, find out how it is and all that. They conducted experiments. Out of this, one famous experiment is Michelson-Morley experiment. This was conducted, these are two American scientists. They conducted this experiment in 1887. They took 3 months, April to July, and continuously they conducted, but they could not, their experiment could not detect the presence of ether. So this experiment is called as the most famous failed experiment. So from then what happened, this ether theories, people started discarding them. And when after Albert Einstein wrote his special theory of relativity in 1915, ether was completely dead. So they stopped teaching in schools. Anybody who talks about ether, they call him forget it. So it slowly got taboo. However, Albert Einstein, even after this, he said, okay, ether is not there. He was the main person responsible for the death of the ether theories. However, in 1920, in the year 1920, he gave a lecture in Holland, some university, called Ether and Relativity. The topic is ether and relativity. In this, what he says, space has got mechanical properties. Hence, there has to be ether. In the concluding portion of the lecture, he writes, as per the general theory of relativity, space without ether is unthinkable. Who? Albert Einstein. He was the main reason for the death of the ether theories. After he became famous in 1915, after he published General Theory of Relativity, he says that he tells us about ether. Ether has to be there, he says. And Newton's second theory of gravity is also concerned with ether. He says gravity force is not there, but there is a ether which interacts with the celestial bodies like matter, earth. It repels or either pushes or pulls. So that is how this action takes place, and he has written. So in this, what happened? In my research, I came across 12 physical qualities that occur in outer space, and outer space begins from 100 kilometers from the Earth, which is called the Karman line. It is an imaginary line. So all these 12 phenomena occur only about this line. To tell you a few, after that down videos there, all the 12 that will show. But I'll explain one or two. One is, soon as you rise above 100 kilometer altitude, objects within a spacecraft will become weightless. They start floating. You might have seen it in videos, NASA videos. One. Second, as they float, if there is a liquid, it will also float and take on a spherical shape. Whereas on Earth, if you throw water, it will go splash and that's all. But there it takes on a spherical shape and floats. But the most interesting is when spacecraft re-entry after the mission, space shuttle, US space shuttle, it weighs about 100 tons. During re-entry, if it's angle of attack, this is angle of attack, they say. So if during re-entry, if it angle of attack is less than 40 degrees, if it is like this, it will bounce back into space at 120 kilometers altitude. At 120 kilometer altitude, there's only vacuum. Because as per the thing Wikipedia, 99.99% air is below 100 kilometers. Only 0.0001% is in the thousands of kilometers above. Now, exactly at 122 or 122 kilometers altitude, how can the spacecraft bounce back?
So that Elon Musk wala that landed the spacecraft landed on the 40-degree altitude.
No, they call it angle of attack. Even you can read in Wikipedia's spacecraft entry mechanics. If it does not come at 40, it cannot enter. If it is less than 40, it will bounce back into space. If it is more than 40, it will come very fast. That is also not good. So the best angle they have discovered after a lot of research, 40 degrees. So why does it bounce back? See, this table is there. If I put a ping pong ball, it will bounce hit the table. But there's a vacuum there. How can something bounce in a vacuum like a stone? You have seen in our childhood days, we throw a stone on the lake. It bounces. Exactly, that is what they describe. It bounces. This is second I have observed. Third, most interesting again, imagine we have a ball of 4 kilometers. Just imagination. This is like Einstein, we are also doing a thought experiment. This is lying on the ground. Now, if a person starts walking, he's standing on top. If he starts walking, what will happen when he comes to the side?
Will fall down.
He'll fall down. If the same 4-kilometer object is in space, outer space, it will immediately get its own gravitational field and that person can walk all around. There is example also, NASA has landed on satellites and taken samples also. Rosetta mission, you might have read about 7-8 years back, Rosetta mission, that was measuring about 3.5-4 kilometers. They landed and took samples. So, any object which goes into space, irrespective of its size, will get its own gravitational field. When the body is below 100 kilometers altitude, nothing, we will fall. The same thing is in space. So there is something in space which gives rise to all these phenomena.
So describe a few experiments conducted to detect ether, sir.
It is a physical entity just like air. But air is made up of molecules, atoms and everything. But this is a sort of continuous entity, like say like a sponge, something like that. So first thing we can do is go to around 110 kilometers altitude using sounding rockets and collect it with pneumatic cylinders or something, bring it down and check. You can do a lot of tests using spectrometers and everything. Second, the space medium and the earth, I'm telling, they repel one another. That is why it is not coming down. Why should it start from 100 kilometers altitude? Why not from Earth's surface?
I think it's repelling each other.
Only then it can go. And there's a proof for why it is repelling. See, the Karman line on Earth is 100 kilometers. On Mars, it is around 80 kilometers. But on Venus, it is 250 kilometers. Why should Venus thing be 250 kilometers? Because Venus is same size as Earth, more or less. Slightly smaller, but even if you keep it equal, even there it should have been 100. But it is not 100, 250. But there's one more speciality of Venus. Its atmospheric density is 93 times more than the Earth. See, Earth is 1 if you take, it is 93 times more pressure on the Venus. That is why that has pushed out the ether to 250 kilometers altitude. So from this we can make it, for example, a balloon. You keep blowing up, the pressure becomes more, it expands. If we send up a rocket with a, say, flat surface, or see, rocket is normally pointed. If we put a flat surface inside, and as it approaches the Karman line, that is 100 kilometers altitude, if you slow it down sufficiently, as per my theory, it will not be able to rise up because it will be repelling with the space medium. So that is another experiment. Either flat or like this, some surface. See, rockets are pointed. But in this, it should be provided with a flat surface. So as it approaches the Karman line, if my theory is true, then it will As it goes nearer, the repulsion will be more, due to which the rocket cannot rise up above 100 kilometers. So this is two experiments you can do. One is directly collect it. Second is this experiment. Or if you keep a weight, a weighing scale on the side of the sounding rocket and keep an object, as it goes up and nears the Karman line, the weight will increase because it is pushing. Third experiment, they can check for gravity. Take an object, take it into space, test if a small gravitational field has formed around it. So these three experiments that can be done to detect the ether. But the best one is collect it, bring it down. That is the best. We will know whether it is a vacuum or whether it is not a vacuum.
Achha, so then why do astronauts experience weightless?
Astronauts experience weightlessness because they say that spacecraft isn't free fall. Free fall means actually how you are falling down from a building, that is free fall. But here the spacecraft is flying parallel to the Earth's surface. I don't know why they call it free fall. Because the Earth, although it is a sphere, it behaves like a flat surface. See, if you take a sphere and see, you put one person here, he'll be standing here. The other person is opposite. But yet all of us feel we are on top. Why? Nobody feels. Suppose we fly in a plane also. If you complete one round around the earth, we will always feel that we are flying on a flat surface. Nowhere will we going down, turning upside down, coming up. No. Why? This is the beauty of nature. Although Earth is a sphere and all celestial bodies are spheres, they behave in reality like flat surfaces. That is why Earth, water also, you see on a flat surface, if you put water, it will spread out equally. Even on the Earth, water is spread out equally. Correct. Okay, so that is the reason they are giving. But what I found out, what true reason, in space there are no up and down directions. So what happens when an object enters space, because of this they don't know all directions are up. So where you cannot fall anywhere. So you'll be floating. Earth is floating for the same reason. See, because Earth is in the gravitation field of the sun, it has to keep moving. If it stops, it will fall towards the sun. Now imagine Earth is far away between two stars, the nearest star and our sun. So there's no gravity of either the sun or the star. In that condition, if you put Earth, it will float. Why it will float? Because if you see for Earth, from every direction you see up only.
Correct.
In space, here only and up and down is on Earth's surface. But in space, if you put Earth in one place where there is no gravity, from every point you see up is out, down is towards Earth's center. So which way it cannot fall anywhere. That is why though it is so heavy, it cannot fall anywhere because all are up only. Down is only the Earth's center.
Earth center.
Yeah, down is that only. So for me, it is there. People opposite us, they are also falling. Their weight is falling towards the Earth's center.
Correct.
So this is the beauty of nature. Though it has made spherical, they behave like flat surfaces. So true, why weightlessness occurs? This reason I have given. Because true free fall, suppose we are falling in a lift, say, and they cut off, we fall. We will get terribly frightened. Our adrenaline will go up. Correct. But they are enjoying. They're floating and happily enjoying. So how can it be either different?
So tell me about your current atomic theory and a little about your new theory, sir.
See, current account, I told you earlier, it says that atoms consist of only proton, neutron, electron.
Correct.
Whose mass makes up only 0.01% of the total volume of an atom. The rest is empty space. How can we believe? Now I'll take one apple or any fruit. I will tell you, see, this apple consists of only one seed. Rest is little bit pulp is there, little bit skin. They are rotating so fast that we feel that it is full apple. Will you believe me? Then how come we are believing this? How can something so empty exist in a solid, liquid and gaseous state? So my theory is very simple. And there's one more problem with the current atomic theory. One is that, so there's no elements in the atoms. There's no gold in a gold atom, no silver in a silver atom, no carbon in a carbon. Only proton, electron and empty space. And one more best beauty is all the proton, neutron, and all the atoms of different element are the same. It is not that in the gold it is gold proton. It is the same the proton in all the elements are the same. So how this is possible? If I take water, to make juice I need water, essence and sugar there. I will increase the quantity. Will I get something new? I will get more volume, but I will get the same juice.
Correct.
So the current atomic theory does not explain how one atom, if you add one proton to a hydrogen atom, how does it convert to the next element? See, for example, we have got titanium. Titanium comes just before gold, and after gold is mercury. So if you take titanium and add one atom and one proton to that, it will immediately transform to gold. And if you put one proton to gold, it will become mercury. Totally three different elements. But what is the internal mechanism this is happening? This is not at all there in the current atomic theory. What changes? One proton you put, they are telling it will become gold. But what happened? What became gold? What turned into gold? Nothing. One extra proton you put, one extra electron came, finished. So that is a problem with the current atomic theory. And the third is the strong nuclear force, they say. It is one of the four fundamental forces of nature. It is holding the atom together, atoms, nucleus together. So this force is billions of times stronger than gravity. If you compare the strength of gravity and the strong nuclear force, the strength of the strong nuclear force is billions of times more than gravity. Yet its range is very short. How can that be? When something is strong, its range should increase. If you take a torchlight, for example, small torch will shed light for the small distance. A powerful torch, its light will go further. So here, for example, if you take a magnet also, a powerful magnet, its range is more. A weak magnet, range is less. But here you have a force which is billions of times stronger than gravity, but it acts only within the nucleus. So such forces don't exist in nature. That is what my thing is. So this is the problems with the current atomic theory. My atomic theory, as per my atomic theory, atoms not empty space. They are 99.9% full of elementary matter. That means in a gold atom, if you take, or a carbon atom, if you take, 99.9% is filled with carbon. And this nucleus is in the center. And the nucleus and the carbon repel one another just like the earth and the ether.
Correct.
But only thing, their repulsion is, intensity of repulsion is less, but here intensity of repulsion is massive in the atom. That is why the range of the strong nuclear force is so small. It is not force pulling, it's a compressive force as per my theory. So that is why it is not, its range is not more. Second is, like I told you, if you cut everything, as per my theory, any item like food is there. Even at the microscopic level, the molecule should contain the same item. Suddenly it cannot become proton, nuclear, just proton, neutron, and electron. Whatever is there at the macro level should also exist at the micro level. This is all my theory says. It is full. That is why everything is full. If everything is empty, then soap bubbles, you can just crush them like that. That is empty. That is not fully empty. Air is there inside. Even then we can just bread it. So my theory is opposite to the current theory.
Actually, then why is the mystery of gravity not completely solved yet?
See, the mystery is, like I told you, Newton is the father of gravity, Isaac Newton. He himself has told in his lifetime that there is no such force. And he gave an alternate theory. But that is not being taught. And you are still searching for an independent force. So how you can find? You cannot find. When the father of gravity himself have told no. One. Second, till the graduate or postgraduate level, they teach Newton's universal laws of gravitation. After that, higher studies only, they will teach Albert Einstein's general theory of relativity. So, which is true? Either this or that. Both can't be true.
Correct.
So, this is the problem. So, what I found out was in my research, the second theory of Newton, the gravitational ether theory of Sir Isaac Newton, matches perfectly with what I have discovered in space. I told you the 10 physical qualities of outer space. That proves that what Isaac Newton told in his later theory of gravity is correct. And weight is an intrinsic property of matter. So you don't need a force. See, now what they say, if you throw a stone up, it is being pulled by gravity. That is why it slows down. And then while falling, it is being pulled, it is getting attracted and it will accelerate. Now imagine weight is a property of matter. Even then the same thing will happen.
Correct.
When you throw something up, due to its weight, it will slow down. Again, while falling, the reverse happens. Nothing happens. You don't need a gravitational force. Nature has solved it. Nature has made things so beautifully simple.
Wow.
So simple nature has made. We are making it complicated.
So then one question is there. What is the true composition of the sun according to you then?
Nobody knows it. Just 100 years back, all eminent famous scientists believe that the composition of the sun was exactly similar to that of Earth. Like say for Arthur Eddington, he's the famous scientist whose experiment made Albert Einstein famous. He only conducted that experiment during a solar eclipse, and he found out that starlight bends. Light bends while passing through by side of stars. And after that experiment, Albert Einstein became world famous. So that person also believed that Earth and the sun consist of the same elements. However, one lady named Cecilia Payne, she's an American scientist, she wrote the thesis, PhD thesis, based on a discovery by Meghna Saha of Indian origin, scientist, a very famous scientist of India, from West Bengal. Based on his spectroscopy experiments, she wrote a thesis that the sun consists of mostly hydrogen and helium. Then all these people said, what you are writing this? And then she took back the paper. She said some error is there and she took it back. But after 2-3 years, another scientist saw her thesis and he said, no, she is correct. And somehow, suddenly, based on one thesis, the whole concept changed. They were believing that the sun consists of the same things. But after this thesis, they say the sun and earth consist of only hydrogen and helium. Now my theory is, if sun consists only hydrogen and helium, you and earth should have the same. Because earth and all other planets from the same gas and dust. See, that is a theory, no? Well, there was a rotating mass of protoplanetary disk, and all the sun, earth, planets, everything formed from the same gas and dust. Either one should be true, what was believed earlier should be true, or we should also have only hydrogen, helium. But no, even a meteor, a small meteor or asteroid has more elements than the sun. See, there are millions of trillions and trillions of galaxies, and each galaxy contains billions of planets, solar systems, and the suns. To see to think of it, all the stars have only hydrogen, helium, whereas our Earth and all rocky planets have all the elements. So something is wrong here. So that is as per my theory, and lot of investigation made by NASA scientists, but they don't publish it. The sun has got a large iron core. So its composition should be the same as Earth, as believed 100 years back. That is my theory.
So as per your theory, how did the solar system come into existence?
So now the current theory is protoplanetary disk. It was a huge, gas and disk was rotating, and from it, all the planets and stars formed. As per my theory, the sun there are two, three things to be noted in the solar system. See, the distance between planets starting from Mercury doubles. From Sun to Mercury is certain distance means Mercury to next Venus is double that. From Venus to Earth is double. Like that, almost till Uranus, that means 8 planets almost are in that ratio. So a scientist named Bode, he wrote a law and gave some calculation how this formation is coming. But this nobody could explain how this is happening. How can this sort of formation come? So then they said, no, it's a coincidence, mathematical coincidence. They left it, and that the theory is still remaining that gas and dust existing in the disk. But I performed an experiment to find out. I had a hunch. This might be the reason. I performed an experiment, and the same thing came here. I took 8 or 9 steel balls, a crude example, but in a channel I kept them and spring loader thing I hit. The first ball goes maximum distance. The second goes little lesser. The third goes much lesser. Fourth, like that, the gap is reducing.
Correct, correct.
Cannon, if you keep in a cannon some 7, 8 cannon balls and fire, the same thing will happen. But to test it, I made this experiment, and it is showing that the video is there in the thing. So when you hit, no, the first ball is going far, the second ball little slower, and the distance between each ball is reducing.
Correct, correct, correct.
Actually, in my experiment, this is there, and I have shown it. So my theory is very simple. See, life is how birth is given from the womb, right? And family, father, mother, children, grandchildren. So here the sun, if you treat as parents, the planets are children, and the moon and all that grandchildren. And the galaxy center, what they call black hole, that is a grandfather. So my theory is simple. As the sun was started nuclear reaction, it was spinning very fast. There was a blast. In that instant, some material was ejected out, like volcano material comes out from the sun's equatorial region. But because it was rotating fast, it broke up. Pieces broke up and they formed different planets, depending on how much mass was ejected at that time. So this theory is there, and the Bode's law, which they claim to be mathematical coincidence, is actually possible in this method. And I have shown it with the ball experiment.
Mohanlal sir, one last question. Already you explained it, but according to the current theory, the moon rotates every year 27 days. Correct?
Yeah. Once in 27 days, rotates once in 27 days.
But as per you, the moon does not rotate. Please explain it, sir.
See, once the practical experiment I made. See, practical in science, I might say one theory, you might say, he might say something, but how do you find who's correct? Practical experiment is a king. So I perform practical experiment using 2 motors I told, of this same RPM, synchronous motors, geared motors, 10 RPM motors. So when you switch on this motor, this will start rotating, and that is connected to this with a rod. And when you switch on this motor, the whole thing starts rotating. So unless I switch on this motor, moon motor, it will not rotate. So that means when I don't switch it on, it is not rotating. When I switch on only the central motor, it moves around, and then that shows exactly how the moon is appearing now. Second example, now Earth is rotating, we are getting day and night. Now what will happen if the Earth stops rotating? It is no simple. See, Earth is rotating fast on its center of axis in 24 hours. That is why we are getting 12 hours a day, 12 hours night. If Earth stop rotating, what will happen? Sunlight will fall only on one side. The backside portion will be always dark, but it will be revolving around the sun, but stop rotating like this. So the side facing the sun will always be in light, whereas the backside will be darkness. But this movement is exactly how the moon is rotating as. The same face is always visible from the earth. So this also proves that the moon is not rotating. Otherwise, if it was rotated, we would have seen all its sides. Third example, I told you the ball, tie a ball and string it. Once it is spinning, the ball cannot rotate separately. Only one side will be visible. Then the race car also, I told you, race car, a horse, anything on a racetrack going round and round. From the center, you will see only one side. Same exact moon movement. Is that also rotating? No. So there are so many like this examples, and most important, I told you the what is that the practical experiment that proves, and they have given it to shown it to many scientists who see it, then they become silent. I mean, if I am wrong, if my experiment wrong, what is stopping them from proving me? I have given them award also. It is on YouTube also. 7 lakh rupees award that time. It was equivalent to 10,000 US dollars. Even now, these videos on YouTube, I have forwarded to NASA, ESA, so many agencies, but no response from anybody.
I think they don't want to respond, sir.
Even now, this is there. Maybe through your podcast, people get interested and come. They can visit my NGO also, where they can see practically all the experiments.
Thank you so much, sir. You are doing a great job.